You got the raise. More money, more stability, a step closer to the life you imagined. So why does it still feel the same? Why does your bank account grow slower than your effort? Why does earning more never quite translate into being rich? And here's the uncomfortable question most people avoid. What if the system isn't broken? What if it's working exactly as designed? Because the truth is, most people will never be rich. Not because they're lazy, not because they don't earn enough, but because they're playing a completely different game without realizing it. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. Before we go further, this video is for educational purposes only. It's not personalized financial advice. Everyone's situation is different, and any financial decision involves risk. Do your own research, and if needed, speak with a qualified professional. Now, back to the real question. Right now matters more than ever. Wages are rising in many sectors. Side hustles are everywhere. Information is free. Opportunities feel unlimited. And yet, wealth inequality keeps expanding. The gap isn't closing, it's widening. People are working harder, earning more, but somehow falling further behind. So what's going on? If earning more isn't enough, then what actually separates those who build wealth from those who don't? Let's start simple. Imagine two people. Person A earns $3,000 a month. Person B earns $10,000 a month. You'd expect person B to get rich faster. That seems obvious. But fast forward 10 years, person A has modest savings, nothing extraordinary. Person B? Still living paycheck to paycheck, just with better furniture, a nicer car, a more expensive version of the same stress. So what changed? Income increased, lifestyle increased, but wealth didn't. This is the first illusion. More income doesn't create wealth. It often just upgrades your expenses. And the system quietly encourages this. Every time you earn more, something subtle happens. Your standards shift. You move to a better place. You upgrade your phone. You travel differently. You spend without noticing. Not because you're irresponsible, but because it feels justified. You worked for it. And this is where the trap tightens, because the system doesn't reward restraint. It rewards consumption. The economy grows when you spend, not when you save. So everything around you, advertising, social media, even cultural expectations, pushes you toward one thing: spend more as you earn more. And slowly, without realizing it, you lock yourself into a higher cost life, a life that requires your income just to maintain. This is called lifestyle inflation. But that's only the surface. Here's where it gets more interesting. There are two types of people in the financial system. Not rich versus poor, not smart versus average, but something far more important. People who work for money and people whose money works for them. It sounds cliché, but the mechanics behind it are not. When you work for money, your time is the source of your income. You stop working, the money stops. When money works for you, something else happens. Assets generate income, even when you're not involved. And this is where the real divide begins. Let's break it down. Most people earn income from one source, their job. This income is taxed immediately, before they even touch it. Then they spend what's left on things that lose value over time. Cars, gadgets, subscriptions, upgrades. And at the end of the month, there's little left to build anything. Now compare that to how wealth is actually built. Not through income, through ownership. Ownership of assets, businesses, real estate, equity, investments that produce cash flow or grow over time. These assets do something your salary never will. They scale. You can only work so many hours, but an asset can grow indefinitely. And here's the uncomfortable part. Most people never make that transition. They stay in the income loop forever. But why? Why don't people just shift from earning to owning? Because the system makes it harder than it looks. Let's talk about friction. When you earn money, it's predictable, safe, structured. When you invest or build assets, it's uncertain, slow at first, sometimes uncomfortable. And human psychology hates uncertainty, so we default to what feels stable, a paycheck, even if it quietly limits us. But there's another layer most people never notice, and this is where things get uneven. The rules aren't the same for everyone, not at the top. When you earn a salary, you pay taxes first. When you own assets, you pay taxes later, or less, or sometimes almost nothing. Why? Because the system is built to encourage investment, not just labor. Governments want capital to move, to build, to grow industries, so they reward ownership. Lower tax rates on capital gains, deductions, write-offs. Meanwhile, earned income gets taxed the most consistently. So two people can generate the same amount of money, but the one who earns it through assets keeps more of it and reinvests more of it, which compounds quietly, relentlessly. This is one of the hidden mechanisms, not illegal, not secret, just not obvious.
Now here's where perception and reality split. The public narrative says, get a good job, work hard, earn more, and you'll succeed. And to some extent, that's true. You can build a comfortable life that way. But wealth? That's a different game. Because wealth isn't about how much you earn. It's about how much you keep and how effectively it grows without you. And those are two completely different skills. Most people master earning. Very few master keeping and multiplying. And the system doesn't exactly teach you that. In fact, it often distracts you from it. Think about this. You're told to upgrade your life as you grow. Better house, better car, better lifestyle. But you're rarely told to upgrade your ownership, to think in terms of assets instead of consumption, because consumption is visible. Ownership is quiet. No one sees your index funds, but everyone sees your car. So socially, spending feels like progress, even when it's not. And this creates a strange illusion. People look wealthier than they actually are, while the truly wealthy often look surprisingly ordinary because their money isn't in what they show, it's in what they own. Now zoom out. This isn't just individual behavior, it's systemic. Entire economies run on this dynamic. A large base of people earning, spending, and sustaining consumption, and a smaller group accumulating assets that grow over time. This isn't a conspiracy. It's structure. And once you understand the structure, a pattern appears. The people who break out of the cycle don't just earn more, they change how they interact with money. They stop measuring success by income alone. They start measuring ownership, cash flow, equity, leverage, words that rarely come up in everyday conversations, but quietly define financial outcomes. And here's the part that most people underestimate. Time. Time changes everything. At first, earning more feels powerful, immediate results, visible upgrades. But assets grow slowly in the beginning, almost invisibly, which makes them easy to ignore, until they don't. Because over time, compounding kicks in, and what looked insignificant becomes dominant. This is why someone can earn modestly and still build wealth, and why someone can earn a lot and stay stuck. Because the difference isn't speed, it's direction. So where does this leave you? If earning more isn't the solution, what is? Not a trick, not a shortcut, but a shift from income to ownership, from spending to allocating, from visible success to invisible growth. And that shift is uncomfortable because it goes against everything that feels natural, everything that's promoted, everything that looks like progress, which is why most people never make it, not because they can't, but because they don't see the game they're playing. And you can't win a game you don't understand. So maybe the real question isn't, why will you never be rich? Maybe it's, what game are you actually playing? And more importantly, who designed the rules? If this made you rethink how money actually works, I'm curious what part stood out to you the most. Do you think earning more is still the main path to wealth, or is something else going on beneath the surface? Share your perspective in the comments. And if you want deeper breakdowns like this, quiet mechanics, hidden structures, the things most people overlook, you can subscribe. See you in the next video.